Once again, SpaceX's Starship met a fiery end in outer space, disintegrating into a spectacular fireworks display over the Bahamas. But why did this happen? That's the question on everyone's mind, so let's dive into the details and try to piece together what went wrong. Earlier in the week, there was some drama surrounding the launch procedure. On Monday night, the Starship was fully fueled and prepped for launch. SpaceX took the countdown all the way to T40 seconds, but at that point, they decided to abort the launch. The primary issue was related to pressure problems in the ground systems. Specifically, the mechanical systems in the launch mount use pressurized gas to spin up the Raptor engine turbopumps in the Super Heavy booster before ignition. Without sufficient pressure, a successful launch was unlikely. This decision made sense, but it was just the beginning of the week's challenges. During the pre-launch livestream on Thursday night, the presenter mentioned that both software and hardware issues had been identified during Monday's attempt. As a result, SpaceX destacked the Starship on Wednesday to perform repairs inside the vehicle. While this might seem like a minor detail, it's worth noting because it highlights the complexity of the systems involved. Additionally, there was an interesting segment in the pre-flight show about the new Raptor V3 engine, which we'll circle back to later. Now, let's revisit the outcome of Starship Flight 7 in January. During that flight, the ship was lost just as it was nearing the end of its second stage engine burn. The video feed cut out as the engines shut down one by one, and minutes later, observers in the Bahamas reported seeing a glowing red cloud of debris raining down from the sky. SpaceX described this as a learning experience, and what they learned was that the ship experienced a much stronger harmonic response during flight than during ground testing. Harmonic response refers to the vibrations created by the rocket engines. A giant metal tube with 6 rocket engines at the bottom is bound to vibrate, but if the frequency of those vibrations is off, or if different frequencies interact in the wrong way, it can put immense stress on critical hardware, like the propellant system. In this case, the ship essentially vibrated itself to death. To address this issue, SpaceX took the ship intended for Flight 8 and subjected it to an extended static fire test. They burned all 6 engines on the ground for 60 seconds, about 10 times longer than any previous test. This allowed them to induce different vibration frequencies and observe how the ship responded. The test led to the development of new hardware installed in the fuel feed lines to the ship's vacuum engines, the 3 engines with the large nozzles. These feed lines act like straws, running from the methane tank through the liquid oxygen tank and delivering fuel directly to the engines. The new hardware significantly reduced the strength of the harmonic resonance, alleviating stress on the propellant system. SpaceX also addressed a fire that broke out in the attic, an unpressurized area just above the engine nozzles and below the oxygen tank. This area had been a problem during Flight 2 as well. To mitigate the risk, SpaceX added a gaseous nitrogen system to clear the area of flammable materials and installed more vent holes to maintain near vacuum pressure, making it harder for fires to start. However, these measures are considered temporary fixes until the Raptor V3 engine is introduced. Now, let's fast forward to the Flight 8 launch. The liftoff was as stunning as ever, with clear blue skies and the early evening sunlight illuminating the rocket. All 33 booster engines fired up and burned strongly through the ascent phase. However, during hot staging, the moment when the Starship separates from the booster, something unusual happened. Typically, the Super Heavy booster flips to the side, but this time it performed a straight-up backflip. As a result, the booster's exhaust washed over the side of the Starship, which you can see at T plus 2 minutes 50 seconds. Additionally, 2 of the booster engines failed to relight for the boost back burn, despite SpaceX having installed upgraded engine igniters to improve relight performance. Nevertheless, the booster achieved another flawless return to the launch site and was caught by the Mechazilla Tower. While the booster's success was a highlight, the Starship itself faced catastrophic failure in space. At T plus 7 minutes 44 seconds, a new camera angle from inside the engine bay revealed flames licking down from above the engine nozzles. A particularly bright hot spot appeared at the bottom left of the screen, behind the illustration of the booster on the nozzle of a vacuum engine. Between T plus 8 minutes 4 seconds and T plus 8 minutes 5 seconds, things went downhill fast. Telemetry showed one vacuum engine shutting down, triggering a chain reaction that took out 2 of the center engines. At T plus 8 minutes 6 seconds, an explosion in the engine bay caused a burst of gas, coinciding with the loss of a third center engine. The ship began spinning out of control, and the flight controller announced that the Flight Termination System, FTS, had been saved, meaning the automatic self-destruct was disabled, though it could still be triggered manually. What followed was a chaotic and fascinating sequence. The 2 remaining engines continued to burn as the ship spun uncontrollably. Telemetry showed wild fluctuations in propellant levels as the liquid sloshed back and forth in the tanks. The speed oscillated rapidly as the engines pushed the ship in different directions. By T plus 9 minutes 10 seconds, another engine failed, leaving just one Raptor engine burning until T plus 9 minutes 27 seconds. Why didn't SpaceX shut down all engines at the first sign of failure? It's unclear. Perhaps they lost control of the system, or perhaps they wanted to gather as much data as possible. The final moments of a Starship were captured by weather radar, which showed the breakup occurring over the Gulf of Mexico, just off the southwest tip of Florida. Ground-based footage from the Bahamas revealed the ship erupting into a massive cloud of gas, with one bright tumbling forward, likely the remains of the Starship. This debris re-entered the atmosphere, creating a comet-like trail before disintegrating completely. So what caused this failure? It's eerily similar to what happened during Flight 7, despite SpaceX's efforts to fix the issues. The company has been relatively vague in its response, with Elon Musk acknowledging that it was an upper-stage ship failure and emphasizing that progress is measured over time. He also mentioned that the next ship will be ready in 4 to 6 weeks, but it's unclear what changes will be made to prevent a repeat of this failure. The key to solving these issues may lie in the Raptor V3 engine. During the pre-flight show, SpaceX discussed how the new engine design eliminates unnecessary components and moves many parts from the outside to the inside, reducing weight and complexity. One of the most significant advantages of Raptor V3 is that it allows SpaceX to remove the engine heat shields, saving approximately 1 metric ton of mass per engine. Across the entire Starship and Super Heavy booster, this adds up to 39 tons of weight savings, effectively doubling the payload capacity of a Falcon 9. Moreover, the transition to Raptor V3 will reduce the volume of the attic compartment and eliminate many of the fuel lines and joints that are prone to leaks. As SpaceX puts it, parts can't leak if they don't exist. The company plans to transition to Raptor V3 later this year, and it seems increasingly likely that this new engine will address many of the problems that have plagued the Starship program so far.